Welcome back, you guys and girls. It's funny, I started recording my last video. I totally forgot to press record, and the camera went off on me. But I was in the middle of sharing something. It's kind of weird now because it's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. But I was talking about how I looked back at my videos, and it's been so long since, because I started with mental chemistry, and man, this is all just weird now. Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny how, you have all this energy built up, and when you like express it, that energy is just gone, and then you find out that the camera's not even recording, so now it's just like, what the heck? It's not even close to being the same. You know that feeling? Man. But what I was talking about, I was just talking about mental chemistry. It's been so long. Dang, I need to stop saying that. It's been so long since I've last recorded that video. It's been about 9-10 months. Okay, I recorded it back in November of 2015. Now it's already December. It's already September of 2016. That was 10 months ago. And I've read these series of books within those last several months, and I've gone over it several times. And the reason why I started to do it was because I believed that it was one way I could help change the world. As much as not a lot of people, or as much as somebody would say something about that, but in reality, we're all changing the world every second of the day by every single action we dictate, and every word we speak, every thought we think, every feeling that we harbor. It's what manifests itself in this current moment in time, and whatever manifests itself in this current moment in time is what's happening in this material plane, and that's affecting everything that's happening around us. So everybody is changing the world every second of the day by the choices that they make. And me personally, I thought this would be a very good choice to make. And what I was saying, like I said, it's kind of weird now. They say it's weird because you make it weird, but at the same time, the energy is not the same as it was before. But yeah, I firmly believe that I would be able to help people out by doing these videos. And like I do all this for free, and I realize that it's not me doing this that helps people. It's because what I've learned, people don't want to hear what you have to say. They really don't. They want to hear what you have to offer them. What do we have to offer to you guys? We have information from books, when not a whole lot of people even read nowadays. It's information, and what I've learned is things are changed through me. Things are changed through you. The world, the environment, everything is changed through you. And the only way you're going to be able to make that change in the external is to change yourself. And I realize that after all this time, that after me reading all this, I've been changing myself. I've been becoming more and more of myself, because it's information that's tried and true, and it's facts of how things really are. And with that being said, it wasn't exactly like the first one, but it is what it is, right? So section 10, and today, or right now, since it's still the same day, we're going to go over the next section, which will be heat vibrations. And we'll be learned about heat with ether under strain and matter in motion. That heat is the result of matter in motion affecting the ether under strain. So let us get started. Section 10. The influence of heat is so beneficent, and sometimes so terrible, that it is not surprising that from time immemorial it should have received not only the attention, but sometimes the adoration of mankind. It is through the agency of heat that all animal and vegetable life comes into being. Without heat, there could be no life, as we know it upon the planet. Remember what we learned about heat. Okay, the sun itself does not give any heat whatsoever. Okay, the sun is just a huge ball of energy, electromagnetic plasma. Okay, it's the Earth that creates energy within its own atmosphere as it's turning on its axis. Because remember, the sun is just releasing energy straight from itself. You know, it's just boom. The sun is here. All this energy is being released, and as the Earth is passing through the orbit of the sun, it's pressing through all this energy that is being released by the sun, and it's collecting all that energy within its own atmosphere, while at the same time the Earth is rotating on its axis. Okay, creating a lot of friction within the ether, within the atmosphere, and it's all this friction that causes the heat. Because we learned in physics that energy can never be created and it is never destroyed. Okay, it's only distributed between several different properties, and heat is being one of them. And as it's rotating on its axis, it's creating all that friction within the atmosphere, generating a lot of heat within itself. Okay, that is why it's hotter at the equator, because the equator there's the most friction, and as we move towards the poles, the friction within the atmosphere isn't so strong, which is why it's colder at the poles, both the north and the south. And without heat, nothing could come into being. Heat is a sensation produced by the motion of atoms of matter. If we pass the various effects of heat in review, we shall find that matter and motion are the necessary correlations of heat. Heat coming in contact with certain substances brings about the phenomena which we call combustion. This is caused by the union of oxygen and carbon, which union produces at once both heat and light. The result is a disintegration of the substance. Okay, combustion. Okay, that is the process of what they use to create, combustion is a process which they use to propel automobiles. Okay, because the engine and everything else is happening inside of the car, it's creating combustion, and that's creating a lot of not only heat, but like tiny explosions, I guess you could say, which create the force which cause the automobile or a motorcycle or anything of the sort to actually move. There are other causes of combustion which proceed more rapidly. Take for instance a piece of gun cotton. Gun cotton is a combination of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. When heat is applied, the four kinds of atoms will become immediately disassociated, leaving no trace of the gun cotton. Disassociated meaning disembodied. They're no longer with each other. So, where did it go? The carbon and a part of the oxygen formed carbonic gas. The rest of the oxygen combined with the hydrogen and formed vapor. The nitrogen remained free. Okay, remember, energy is never created and never destroyed. Okay, as these products disassociated themselves, oxygen and carbon and parts of the oxygen formed carbonic gas. Okay, and the rest of the oxygen combined with the hydrogen and formed vapor, which are all released after the gun is shot. And the nitrogen remained free. It will then be seen that heat does not change the nature of the atoms. It simply changes their respective positions with regard to each other, which is why hot air moves quickly than cold air does. Okay, and things travel along let's say when it's colder outside, okay, substances remain within the cold because they're more connected, they're not scattered from the heat. As to where it's hot outside, then things separate more rapidly. As he is saying right here, heat does not change the nature of atoms, it simply changes their respective positions with regard to each other. The application of heat not only brings about a chemical change in the nature of substances, but in so doing, it liberates energy, and what is most interesting to observe, the energy which is liberated is always solar energy. In the combustion of coal, it is the remains of immense forests. which existed upon the earth long before the advent of man. These forests depended for their existence upon the energy which they received from the sun. We now burn the coal, which liberates the energy which was radiated by the sun to the earth thousands of years ago and has been preserved intact. So the energy that the earth has created, or the earth has obtained by the sun, has been instilled within coal, and as we burn the coal, it is liberating that energy which was radiated by the sun to the earth thousands of years ago and has been preserved intact. If we apply the heat to water, we are simply combining the solar energy stored up in the wood or coal at the water and thereby converting it into vapor. If we make use of hydraulic power, we are again utilizing the energy of the sun, which was required to lift water from ocean or lake and carry it to the mountaintop, which would be evaporations. The energy of the wind is but the force which is transmitted to the atmosphere by the condensation of vapor and is therefore received from the sun. All animal life is dependent upon food, and this food is but the result of the actions of solar energy upon the earth. Each atom of hydrogen in the blood of an animal disengages a certain specified amount of solar energy, and this in turn combines with oxygen and makes restitution to nature in another form. It makes restitution. Time to look up a word in the dictionary. And it's very interesting how he's explaining the phenomena that solar energy has and all of these chemicals, because even like the cells in our body, like as we eat, food, as we eat and it goes through as we eat and our body goes through the digestive process, and all the molecules and food and whatnot are traveling through your bloodstream, making its way to every cell of your body. All your cells are set into activity by this solar energy, by the sunlight. And we even learn that our mind is there from the electromagnetic impulses that it is receiving from this energy. So it was where was it? Restitution. So restitution means reparation made by giving an equivalent or compensation for loss, damage, or injury caused. Indemnification, the restoration of property or rights previously taken away, conveyed, or surrounded. So basically the replacement of something, a replacement. So as he's saying here, each atom of hydrogen in the blood of an animal disengages a certain specified amount of solar energy. So the hydrogen within your own blood disengages, it takes apart certain specified amount of solar energy within your own bloodstream, and this in turn combines with oxygen and makes restitution and makes what was that word that I just had? It substitutes it. It brings back what was lost to nature in another form. Dang. Yeah, I know we're doing our best to entirely wrap our heads around this concept as well. Lines of energy crossing a center never fail to intensify at the focus into heat or light, or both. Suspended energy passing the intensified local centers becomes fixed in a state of rest and materializes into static matter. Matter in the sleep state becomes the core of resistance to energize influx, and the suns come into being. the focal centers, the arc lights of the deep. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I really have I have no idea what he means by that statement. Matter in the sleep state, okay, matter in the state of just sleeping, becomes the core of resistance. So matter that's not, moving, as you can say, is resistant to energized influx, and the suns come into being, the focal centers and arc lights of the deep. Man, I need your guys' help. There is a bridge between energy and matter that is invariably used. That bridge is heat, which expresses according to the energy applied, resistance met and time consumed. If it be a great resistance and confined to a short time, the heat will be intense. If it is a lesser resistance or a longer period of time consumed, the heat will in like ration be reduced or extended. So the amount of time it takes for this energy to be released will determine the type of heat which is released with it as well. And likewise with the amount of time it takes, the longer it takes, the less heat it's going to be, because it is extended out through a longer period of time. Not because there is less quantity of heat, but because it is extended, yes, in keeping with the greater or lesser time used. Well, at least we got that part. This one is still like, like we were saying earlier, when, a few months from now, when we reread this again, or even a month from now, maybe we will understand it, because we will be different. This information, this book isn't different, but we'll be different. We'll be more grown. Matter in motion, ether under strain, constitute the fundamental concrete things we have to deal with in physics. The first represents kinetic energy, which would be matter in motion. The second, potential energy, which is ether under strain. And all the activities of the material universe are produced by alterations from one of these forms to the other. So matter in motion, ether under strain, being the two wholes, or the two halves which form the complete whole of force, which constitute energy, life. Energy is a potential force in the state of action, while matter is expended energy in a state of rest. Meaning energy is a potential force in the state of action. Hold on. Energy is a potential force in the state of action, because energy, being the potential force, is waiting to be put into action. And while matter is expended energy, while matter being energy that has been put into action, is expended energy in the state of rest. Okay? Energy is prior to matter. Energy is before matter, a finer composition and more susceptible to the influence of natural law. Out from the eternal principles of nature, slowly the endless sea of cosmic energy came into being. The eternal silence was the womb that gave birth to the oceans of life. Whenever the transference and transformation of energy occur, some effect is produced, but the energy is never diminished in quantity. It is merely passed from one body to another. Energy depends upon the rate of vibration, or the rate of motion, that is, the mass multiplied by the velocity, and we therefore find the greatest quantities of energy passing through stellar space. Hold on. Okay, let me reread this part again. Okay, energy depends upon the rate of motion, okay? That is the mass multiplied by the velocity, okay? However heavy the object is, by how fast it is moving. And we therefore find the greatest quantities of energy passing through stellar space. For certainly the heavenly bodies contain the greatest mass and attain the highest velocities. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so however much energy a thing is releasing depends upon how much mass that energy or that specific thing has, and how fast it is moving along in motion. Okay, and he uses the planets for example because the planets are what have the greatest influence upon all of us because of their mass and because of their velocity and their rate of vibrations and them spinning on their axis and with their characteristics. And wow. It has been calculated that the Sun is distributing energy into space at a rate of 12,000 horsepower per square foot of surface. That's a lot of power. The ether then is the great vehicle of energy and the medium in which all energy originates. This energy passes from potential to kinetic and back again. For example, when a planet is at the farthest point from the Sun, her velocity will be least because, since she is the farthest from the Sun, it's not being affected in the same amount because it's not, the influence is weaker because it's farther. That is why Pluto moves so slow and Mercury moves so quickly. Since Mercury is so quick to the Sun, its influence from the Sun is the greatest, which causes it to not only move around the Sun very quickly, but also to spin on its axis very quickly as well. When nearest the Sun, her velocity is greatest and her potential energy least. So Pluto, having more potential energy than Mercury, because since the Mercury is set into motion, it's mainly under the influence of motion, while Pluto being mainly under the influence of potential, because yeah, it's, I'm more than positive you get the point. And she rounds the nearest point and begins to retreat, or as she rounds the nearest point and begins to retreat, her kinetic energy begins to diminish. It is used up in combating the powerful attraction of the Sun. And as the kinetic energy begins to diminish, the potential energy begins to, build up. And while the potential energy begins to diminish, it then in turn turns into kinetic energy in motions. Such is the even flow throughout all nature of the visible energies of the universe, and herein will be found the explanation for the different effects produced upon mankind by the planets as they continually change their locations, all changes and phenomena being due to variations of the ethereal waves caused by the movement of stellar bodies, or mass multiplied by velocity, size multiplied by speed. The Sun contains enormous quantities of helium. Helium comes from radium, and radium is a storehouse of the most concentrated energy known to man. If that being true, then radium must be very similar to what is known as the ether. It is the source of energy which will liberate 3 or 4 million times as much heat as any chemical reaction known, and continue to do this in almost unlimited quantity. The molecule is a structure formed by a combination of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen, and we learned that carbon is like the backbone of the molecule. Okay, the carbon is the spine, and there's the carbon, and it's the nitrogen and oxygen and hydrogen which connect to the carbon to form a new molecule. The 4 atoms which represent earth, air, fire, and water. These 4 elementary atoms form the various molecules from which 86 chemical elements are composed. The character of the elements depends upon the proportion in which the 4 elementary atoms are united, each element contributing its rate of vibration in accordance with the proportion in which it is present in the combinations. These 86 different chemical elements constitute the basis for every group of matter, organic or inorganic, and the only difference in the elements is in the rate of vibration or in the vibratory activity of the molecules of which the structure is composed. The constitution of matter is therefore simply a mode of motion, all form being the result of the vibratory motions of the cosmic energy. The material changes would take place. Hold on. Let me Okay, we're going to go ahead and end this one right here because it's already been 24 minutes, and we're going to continue on and finish the other half, which we still have close to 10 pages. So I'll see you